Hello everybody, I'm Jarrett Ross, the GeneaVlogger, and welcome back to another Professional Genealogist Reacts. On today's video, I'll actually be reacting to 3 videos in a row. They are Native American Ancestry DNA results by Savage Brownie. There's 3 videos, they're all about like 3 to 4 minutes each, so fairly short, so I figured I'd just all put them in one video because it seems like he's basically taken a bunch of different results and just compiled them into one video. So it's going to be a whole lot of stuff. So I saw in the different thumbnails for the videos that they would have listings of the people from different tribes. So I'm guessing that this is going to give us a whole lot of tribes. So this is going to be all over the place. And I think this is going to be really interesting. But before we do jump into this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe and click that bell for notifications on future videos. But with all that said, let's just jump into the video. All right, so we have Navajo results. Okay, what web? I don't recognize those results. That's an old. That looks like like an old result from one of these websites. So, but Native American and then Asian with some Pacific Islander. That makes a lot of sense. So, my guess is this Asian for this guy is probably a misread, unless he has like a great grandparent who immigrated from Asia and then married some or had kids with someone who was fully Native American, and then the rest of his ancestors were Native American. But my guess is more likely that he has fully Native American ancestry, and then that Asia is just a misread of some of that Native American. Okay, so Inuit, interesting. Native American, Asia East, Asia Central. So interesting. So the people who were Inuit, so basically further northern Native American tribes, had more of an Asian result. So maybe that's very interesting. All right, so this is a big breakdown, 96.5%. Oh, I just noticed these videos are from 2017. So this might have been old info put into a video then. So some of these might date back to like 2013, 2014. Whole ton of Native American, little bit of European, which is really, really interesting, which to me, that's probably saying, let's see, Southern European, Iberian, non-specific, Southern European, non-specific European. More than likely, I bet that European is some real ancient European coming from like the 16th century, 17th century explorers going into the New World and then having children with natives. And there was probably some distant European ancestor. That's really interesting. I'd be curious to see whoever this person is, what their results are now. Okay, so we have another very similar results. And then we have another, again, very similar results. Yeah. Very interesting. Nahuas. East Asian, Native American, European. Yeah, I wonder what website these results are from, though, because I really do not recognize these. I know it's not Family Tree DNA. Could be 23andMe, or could be old version of Ancestry, but I don't think it is. I think it might be old 23andMe. I'm not sure. Okay, so very similar. So basically, it's giving a lot of Native American reading. I don't know how well defined a lot of the Native American ones are, though. Like you can see, it says 66.9% Native American, but then it has this East Asian overhead, and then it has much further breakdown, whereas Native American is not well defined at all. But these are older results, so they may have been more defined as time went on. Very interesting, though.
Hey guys, I know you were expecting this video a long time ago and you guys really wanted this video, and I finally got my DNA results and I am 99% Native American. So I just don't want to show my
All right,
name,
that
but
I'm pretty sure is
anyways, here it
Ancestry.
says
That looks like
America,
Ancestry.
99%.
My dad is Mexican, white, and Native American. And I know for sure that I'm Native American because like I have tribal papers and everything, and I'm like a member of my tribe. 23.5% East Asian and Native American. So 17.6% of that is Native American. According to my tribe, I am 1/8 Native American.
Not my.
So based on her DNA results, it could be interpreted as possibly either a grandparent who is fully Native American, or it could be a great grandparent who is fully Native American, and she also has other Asian ancestry mixed in.
My father's side, I've always known that I'm Native American. I'm Hopi, Navajo, and Yaqui, and those are all Southwest tribes and part of Mexico as well. It says I am 45.9% East Asian and Native
So a
American.
parent of full.
Share my DNA results with you guys. So the Native American side, I got 97%. Very happy, very proud.
Hey guys, my name is Jade Dawson and I did an Ancestry DNA kit. I got my results back about a month and a half later. It's pretty quick. And that's probably because I am 100% Native American.
And my grandmother, she was Eastern Band Cherokee, so she's Native American. I'm actually enrolled in the tribe right now. It says I'm 20% Native American.
20% would be the equivalent of grandparent. But I should say at this point that many of you who have done DNA testing or part of the genealogy community may know that a lot of Native American tribes are actually very against DNA testing. And a big reason for that is that they're worried that people are going to take DNA tests and then try to get tribal membership using those DNA tests, which I totally understand where they're coming from. So I think that's one of the reasons why some of the Native American readings are not as well defined with the different databases, because I don't believe that there have been enough people from certain population groups of Native Americans that have agreed to do DNA testing to allow them to actually do the type of DNA testing you need to create them into a reference population for these admixtures. So I want, this is an older video, so I wonder if some of these websites have done that. Because I haven't dealt with a lot of people with Native American ancestry outside of people who have Mexican ancestry. So people who basically we would define as someone who is Mexican. I have dealt with some Cuban and some Puerto Rican ancestry as well. And of course, we've seen tons of videos where there's little bits of Native American in them. But it's really interesting to see a lot of these people who have the full Native American, because they're also getting all these Asian readings, which kind of shows how the precision and recall isn't always fully on unless they do have some sort of Asian ancestry that they either don't know about or they're just not mentioning.
Cousin, that's him. My cousin gets 90.3 Native American. The total is 95.8 Native American and East Asian.
Okay, that's ancestry results right there.
This is my father. So on my screen,
that's 23andMe.
That's 23andMe results. So my dad is 97. East Asian and Native American.
Alright, we're gonna just rewind it before those things popped up. Okay. So 97.7. Now what's really cool, so you can see that there's that European. Now if you look, you'll see that in each pair, so you have the pairs of chromosomes. You have one on top and one on bottom. And what's really cool about 23andMe is that you can see that they code it in different ways so that you can basically figure out where that DNA is coming from. Now, what's really interesting is that a lot of people will sometimes think, oh, okay, well, if I figure out the one on top is my dad, then the one on bottom is my mom. And so then, each one is the same. And that's not the case. So even though here, chromosome 4, we see that European reading is on the top part, the top one. And then down here, chromosome 17, it's on the bottom one. And so that kind of that might make some people see that and think, okay, well, then I'm getting European ancestry from both my mom and both my dad. But that might not be the case. It might just be that for whatever reason, they just put this one on top and this one on bottom. And both those, even though one's on top and one's on bottom, maybe both of those came from his dad, or maybe both of those came from his mom. So one thing I just wanted to point out real quick with this, but I'm sure a lot of people who have 23andMe have seen this breakdown, which is one of the cooler things about 23andMe. All right, so now we're going to jump into the second video. So this one's only 2.5 minutes. So more Inuit. So before we had a big Asian result, there was about 50% Asian. With this one, it looks about the same. 35% Asia East, 13% Asia Central, and then 52% Native American. So I wonder what's causing that with the Eskimo Inuit population group. I've never dealt with anyone with Eskimo or Inuit ancestry. I don't know the population history, but that's very interesting, because if the Inuits have been here for thousands and thousands of years and their reading is much more, has a lot more Asian than other Native Americans, what does that say of the history? And I imagine there are a lot of interpretations that you could have from that. Okay. All right. Now, I think it's pretty obvious that these people, these Eskimo Inuit people that are testing, we see 27% Native American, 50% Asian, 23% Europe. I wonder what their parents' breakdown would be. That'd be very interesting to see, like, them here, and then, their parents, their father here, and then their father here, and or their mother here, and you can compare. Because I wonder, is this Asia, like, is one of the parents just full Asian, and then the other one is half Native American, half European? Or is maybe there more going on here? These videos are really interesting with all the results and being able to see how different tribes kind of are a little different, but it would be nice to kind of know what the people that they're testing, some of their history, because we see this European, and do they know of these European ancestors? Are they recent, or is it something where, oh my gosh, I have European, where is that coming from? And maybe it's more ancient, tracing very far back. So very high reading. Okay, so this person has a lot of European, 31%, which would be equivalent to about a grandparent. It could be one grandparent where they inherited a lot of their DNA. So, instead of 25%, they get 31%. Or maybe it's something more new, something a bit more complicated going on. All right, now we definitely know that's Ancestry, and we see there's a lot of stuff going on there. Same thing again, we've got a big amount of Ireland, Scotland, so at least one grandparent of English ancestry for that person. So let's see, Lakota, 87% Native American, 13% Asia East. And then Seminole. Straight up Native American, and then a little bit of Asia East. Cherokee. Now, I'm pretty sure Cherokee is one of the tribes where they're very against DNA testing. All right. Now, this person, if you notice, they have 67% African and then 20% Native American. In the last video we watched, or technically not the last, but the one right before this, there was a guy who seemed to be black, had a grandparent of Native American ancestry, and he said that he had 20%. So I wonder if this is the same person, because 67% African, with, it's 67% African, 20% American, 3% Asian, and then something 2%, my guess maybe like European. I wonder if it is that same person. Less than 1% Finland, Northwest Russian. Interesting.
65.
All right, that's definitely 23andMe.
Native American,
which is 61.
Oh gosh. See, now one of the thing I'm not liking about this video is, while it is interesting that it, it's giving all these Native American results, it's showing a lot of these results in this way where it's cutting off everything else. So like we're getting 65.1% Native American East Asian, but what's the rest? And you can see right down at the bottom, European. But what is it? It's really,
1.1% Native American.
Okay. So 3% European. Here we have 5% European. So that could be like, second, third great grandparent, maybe more distant. 100% Native American. Half. It's a lot of European. All right, so let's jump into the third one, the last one. So just 4.5 minutes.
All right, when you're looking around the table during the holiday celebrations, you might catch yourself asking, how did I end up?
All right, whoops, let the other video keep going. Some more Navajo. Native America so Iberian Peninsula, 13%, that'd be the equivalent of like a great grandparent. And then 8% Ireland, Scotland, Wales. So it could be that that this Iberian and Irish, British Isles basically adds together, and that could be all coming from one grandparent. Could be something else, but that would be about my interpretation. Like if I was just given that, I would say, okay, I'm guessing there's probably a grandparent of full European who's half Iberian, half Irish, Scottish, something. Okay, so American, Native American, and then Asian. %, Native American. That's definitely Ancestry results. Oh, now I should note, the first video that we watched was 2017. The second video, I'm going to jump back, was 2018, and this one's 2019. Interesting. So each video, so every year it seems like he's doing a new video. I'm really hoping they'll do some of the tribes that are from North Carolina. Because for those who don't know, I'm actually located in North Carolina. Southern Cheyenne. All right, that's an interesting result. 10% Asian Central, 3% Asia East, 86% Native American. So again, a lot of these people where it basically seems like they're fully Native American, and it's likely misreading some of that Native American as some form of Asian. Now, when we do see that they've got like the Finland, Northwest Russia. Even though it's like 4%, it's usually very difficult on the continental level to screw things up. So it's very likely that 4% probably has some sort of origin behind it. It is traced though, so it could disappear with the next result, because it doesn't look like there's any other European. But when it comes to like this, these 1% Cameroon, 1% African, 5% Benin, Togo. So there's probably an African ancestry there. But the question is are these 1% correct in Cameroon and Congo? Or maybe is that a misread and it's actually more Benin, Togo, or Southern Eastern Bantu or something else? But it's very unlikely that African in there, and it's very is incorrect, like that there's no African. So there's probably African ancestry for that person. There's probably European ancestry for that person. Okay, this one's really interesting because this one is doing a shared DNA comparison. It looks like this is from 23. Well, no, that looks like Ancestry, actually. Yeah, that's got to be Ancestry. So you can see that this person is a match to this other person. Doesn't say how they're related. It probably says it right here that's blocked out. So they both have Native American, one 87%, the other 98%, 2% Asia East, 1% Asia East, 1% Polynesia, 1% Polynesia. Interesting that they use that, the shared match comparison. So we got to see a genetic match comparison in this video. Who would have thought? All right, so there's a lot of stuff going on with this person. This person... All right, yeah, so a lot going on here as well. Middle East, Baltic states, a little bit of African, Germanic Europe, Italy, France, Spain, and then 78% Native American. My guess is that this person had a grandparent who had a very mixed European background. The question being, is that where that Middle Eastern, Cameroon, Congo, all that's coming from, or is that coming from somewhere else? Or even more, is that just a misread? Oh, interesting. So now we're getting the son of that person. And he has way more European. So that, to me, that says that his mother also has a lot of European, but that might not be true. Maybe there's some misreading or something else going on.
These are my DNA test results from Ancestry.com. 100% Native American, New Mexico. That's where I was born and raised, so...
Yeah, now this is Ancestry DNA, and one of the things I do like about Ancestry, especially as they've updated, they will look at your genetic matches, and then using your genetic matches, get an idea of the population groups within their defined population groups that you're correlating with, and that's where they're coming up with these, New Mexico, Chihuahua, and Durango.
Never left the area.
So, it's
such...
Even for like people who are Jewish. So for me, I come from a Dutch Sephardic background. And when I do DNA testing, especially for my mom, where that comes from, she gets a ton of results for people that have Jewish ancestry all over the place because she is a mix. But then she also has a ton of results with people that have that connection to the Dutch Jewish community in Amsterdam, even more specifically, the Sephardic Jewish community. But then when I look at my dad's results, it's very rare to see that. So even though you're dealing with like that problem of endogamy, you can still kind of get an idea of communities that they're coming from just by looking at all of the different people that you're matching. And especially like if you're matching a bunch of people, like my mom, I can find a bunch of people where their full ancestry, all of their grandparents came from that Dutch Sephardic background. So if you didn't know you had that and you found a bunch of matches with that, that could be pointing to an ancestral community.
Europeans or Asian or African or even the Middle East, Russia, whatever. None of that. Just Native American.
I'm Mexican. Or maybe I get Native American too, but Yo, that's crazy. Yo, you in Canada? Yeah. What the fuck? It's in Central Mexico and stuff like that. But it says primarily located in Canada, United States, Mexico.
So basically you're 92% Mexican.
Oh, that's crazy. So yeah. Western Central Mexico. Yeah, let's click on that. That makes sense because my family's from Puebla and from Mexico.
I know I'm a large percentage of Native just because of my mom. My dad is Mexican. I mean, I feel like I look Native because of my cheekbones and then my chin. I have a very strong chin. So I am 77% Native American.
All right. Oh, this is somebody else. Unknown tribe, Mexico. 100% Native American. Okay, so I guess this is going to be a lot of unknown tribes now. Oh, all right. Well, that's it. All right, let's make sure that doesn't play. So, pretty interesting videos. Kind of unfortunate that, you know, with each one, it was cutting off a lot of the stuff that didn't have to do with the Native American side, which, I mean, I get it. The videos are about Native American ancestry results, but it still would have been interesting to get the full picture, and especially with some of these people to have found out more about what they know about their ancestry. Do they have an Asian ancestor that they know about? Is that Asian reading the misreading from the Native American? Just a whole lot of questions with it, but still really cool video. Be interested to see what others have to say about this one, and especially if you have Native American results. You know, what has your experience been in terms of your tribe being happy? You know, are they happy that you did DNA testing? Were they unhappy? Well, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. You can also click right about here if you'd like to subscribe. It's completely free to do so. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at GeneaVlogger. I'm the GeneaVlogger. I will see you in my next video.